Known for its mysterious name and futuristic vibes, the Mitsubishi Starion was a turbocharged masterpiece born straight out of the 80s. A time when pop-up headlights were cool, digital dashboards were cutting edge, and every car wanted to be the next big thing. Starion wasn't just playing around, it was coming for the heavy hitters. The Supras, the RX-7s, the 280ZXs. Damn, it looked sharp, it moved fast, and it packed tech that turned heads. But despite all that horsepower and high hopes, this beast somehow slipped through the cracks of time. So what was the Mitsubishi Starion really about? Why did it matter, and how did something this cool end up fading into obscurity? Before we pop the hood and dive into what made this car so special, let's address the elephant in the garage, the name. Because let's be honest, Starion has become more iconic than the car itself. But once we clear up the mystery, we'll take you back to where it all began, Starion. Sounds cool, right? Kinda space age, kinda powerful, but where did it actually come from? Well, buckle up. According to Mitsubishi, the name was inspired by the Star of Orion. And since Mitsubishi had a habit of naming cars after horses, think Colt, Eclipse, and the Galloper, it all kind of made sense, kinda. But here's where it gets hilarious. The car was supposed to be named Stallion, you know, to go head to head with the Ford Mustang in the pony car arena. A fitting name, right? But somewhere between Tokyo and the rest of the world, things got lost in translation. You see, Japanese doesn't have an L sound, so Stallion came out sounding more like Starion. Damn. And since email didn't exist and cross-Pacific communication involved fax machines and handshakes, the mispronunciation stuck. Mitsubishi rolled with it, and just like that, the Starion was born, a legend by mistake. Hence, in 1982, Mitsubishi launched the first Starion, a sleek turbocharged two-door coupe with styling that gave off serious Porsche 944 vibes. The Mitsubishi Starion was a bold, turbocharged statement straight out of the 1980s. It rocked that classic wedge-shaped silhouette, low up front, high in the back, built for both speed and style. One of its most recognizable features was the pop-up headlights, which added futuristic flair while helping with aerodynamics when tucked away. The car came in two main body styles, the earlier narrow body models from 1982 to 1986 and the wide body versions from 1986 to 1989. The narrow body looked sleek and lean, perfect for tight corners and clean lines, while the wide body took things to another level with flared fenders, chunkier bumpers, and an aggressive muscle car-like stance. Functional design details like integrated front air dams, rear spoilers, and side vents didn't just look cool, they improved airflow and performance, especially at high speeds. But the Starion wasn't just a pretty face. It packed a surprisingly luxurious punch for its time. Drivers got power windows, power adjustable mirrors, and in many trims, even central locking. Not bad for an 80s turbo coupe. The bucket seats weren't just sporty looking either. They offered adjustable lumbar support, giving drivers custom comfort whether they were hitting the track or just the highway. Some versions of the Starion even came with a digital dashboard, complete with all glowing speedometer, tachometer, and turbo boost gauge that looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. And if that wasn't futuristic enough, the high-end models featured a voice alert system that politely warned you about things like low fuel or open doors. Add in cruise control, climate control, and a solid premium audio system with cassette player and graphic equalizer, and you got a car that was way ahead of its time. And well, this wasn't all. At its heart, there was more to the car. Because under the sharp pop-up headlight stare, the Starion was packed with some seriously interesting hardware. There were two main flavors of turbocharged fury, and which one you got depended on where you lived. In Japan, Europe, and most export markets, Starion came with the 2.0-liter G63B inline-4, a tight, high-revving turbo engine that eventually got an intercooler and electronic fuel injection. By the late 80s, this little beast was pumping out 188 horsepower and around 200 pounds per foot of torque, thanks to a TD05 turbocharger. It was a rev-happy responsive and loved being wrung out. Basically a preview of the legendary 4G63 engine that would later power Lancer Evos into rally history. Meanwhile, over in North America, Editionware was also sold as the Chrysler Conquest, Dodge Conquest, and Plymouth Conquest. It ran the 2.6-liter G54B, perfect for cruising or American-style drag pulls. It favorably competed with rivals like the Mazda RX-7 and the Toyota Celica Supra. This engine used a TC06 turbo and throttle body injection, and while early versions made around 145 horsepower, the intercooled widebody versions pulled up to 176 to 188 horsepower, with a hefty 223 pounds-per-foot of torque. It wasn't as refined or rev-happy as the 2.0-liter, but it pulled hard and was incredibly durable, especially for endurance racing. Both engines were matted to a slick 5-speed manual gearbox, though an automatic was optional. And with a top speed hovering between 135 and 137 miles per hour, depending on the spec, the Starion could absolutely hold its own on the highway or the track. Whether you were Team High Rev or Team Torque Monster, the Starion had an engine set up to match your driving vibe, and both were turbocharged proof that Mitsubishi wasn't messing around. As time passed, 1988 didn't just bring with it more advanced computer controls for the Starion's engine package, it also included the sport handling package on the options sheet. Checking this box added an extra inch of width to the vehicle's wheels. But more importantly, it introduced a front and rear suspension system that featured 8-way adjustable shock absorbers. And when it came to sports, the Starion didn't just make waves. It flooded the racing scene across the globe. In the UK, driver Andy McLennan was on fire, racking up win after win in a Simmons drum-sponsored Starion, and even taking home the Monroe Championship title in the Netherlands. But this wasn't just a Eurocentric success story. The Starion went global. In Japan, it tore up the track in the Elite Japanese Touring Car Championship, racking up podiums and wins between 1985 and 1988. Its finest hour, a stellar second-place finish overall in the 1986 All-Japan Touring Car Championship. But Starion's real underdog to unstoppable story unfolded in the US. Enter Team Mitsubishi and their turbocharged 2.6-liter beasts, fine-tuned by Lotus engine wizard Dave Vager. These machines owned endurance racing from 1984 to 1987. They absolutely dominated the grueling longest day of Nelson Ledge's 24-hour race with a 4-year winning streak that became the stuff of legend. And just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, the team's car flipped and got wrecked mid-race in 1985. Game over? No. They patched it up with chicken wire as a windshield and still brought home the win. That was grit. That was Starion. The domination didn't stop there. Team Mitsubishi also scooped up 3 Sports Car Club of America SCCA US Endurance Championships, going toe-to-toe with factory-backed giants like Chrysler, Audi, Nissan, and Mazda. And it wasn't just the pros having all the fun. The global sports car market was shifting, emissions regulations were tightening, and Mitsubishi had its eyes on something even bigger. A new era of all-wheel drive turbo madness. Enter the Mitsubishi GTO, also known as the 3000 GT, and the Galant VR4. Both tech-heavy monsters that marked a new direction for the brand. So in 1989, after nearly a decade of smoky burnouts, race wins, and pop-up headlight glory, Mitsubishi quietly pulled the plug on the Starion. There was no grand send-off, no special edition farewell tour, just a subtle fade-out as the last few wide-body models rolled off the line. But make no mistake, the Starion didn't disappear. It became a cult classic. Its blend of raw turbo power, rear-wheel drive thrills, and unmistakable 80s flair cemented its legacy. The Starion may have bowed out quietly, but it left tire marks on an entire generation of car enthusiasts. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Until next time, see you on the road.